While I was working for NASA, I realized that all the people, they were working for their passion and not money. Most people go to corporate America and they get stuck and they're jumping from company to company every 1 or 2 years. I do not recommend that. I was in Miami with Andrew Tate. He asked me what my plan was after retirement, and I told him some of my ideas. And he says, you need to get into the streams of income where you tap buttons on a screen and money falls from the sky. Exactly. I've had projects where I have given away 100% of the profit. I just want to see if this works or not. I'm gonna invest the money, all the profits you guys keep. I got ridiculed by my own family members. Everybody laughed at me, but I don't think they're laughing anymore.
I don't see any of my taxes going to improve my life experience in the West, but here it's very clear. Things are always improving.
If you are on a fixed income and you're not hustling on the side or investing, this is what will happen. They will
Assalamu alaikum. This is another episode of Work Optional Wealth Intentional. And today's guest is not your average entrepreneur. He's a man who's walked away from the executive suite, built an empire on his own terms. Allahumma barik. Meet Umar, the TOV king, the brownie boss, the man who left the matrix, didn't just escape it, he set it on fire. Born in Pakistan, raised on hustle and armed with 3 degrees, 2 masters, Umar paid his way through school working on NASA shuttle and space station programs. He rose to EVP of a $1.3 billion company, managing 2,000 plus employees before retiring in 2022 to go full rogue. Now based in Houston, but rarely standing still, Umar is the chief commercial officer of a powerhouse startup he co-founded in 2023. Already boasting 25 distribution hubs, 400 plus employees, $300 million projected revenue by year 3, inshallah. And that's just a day job, all right? On the side, he commands a $10 million plus real estate portfolio, multiple online ventures, and is building a new supplement brand from scratch, all while training for performance, raising 2 lions aged 17 and 2.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. And leading men inside some very exclusive and elite circles. And he's a master of spotting scalable opportunities, building loyal teams, and turning chaos into cash flow. So from closing $250 million plus deals to ranking top 3 in the Tate Stairmaster Challenge, 227 floors in 30 minutes.
Exactly.
Unbelievable, right? To horse riding, kickboxing, Allahumma barik. Umar lives loud, builds fast, and plays for legacy. So strap in, inshallah. This episode is going to be about going from corporate cog to cash flow king and how to lead by example. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome.
Walaikum assalam, brother. Very nice to be on your podcast. Assalamu alaikum to your viewers too. I must tell you, that is one of the most boisterous, stupendous, and true to form introductions that I've ever received. And I'm very proud to be on your podcast.
Alhamdulillah, I appreciate that, Umar. And alhamdulillah, you know, one of the things is that we want to do as much research into our guests as possible so that we can give you the edification that you deserve. And Allahumma barik, based on everything I said and a lot more. You've got so much going on. And so the first time we ever spoke was obviously on Telegram about 3 years ago, maybe.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And we just met a couple of days ago.
Yes.
I'm so happy that we finally managed to make this work.
Absolutely. We just met a couple of days ago, but I already feel that I know you for a lot longer,
definitely,
which is beautiful.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to dive into your story, right? You can start wherever you want to start. I want the audience to get to know a little bit more about how you came up. Obviously, you were born in Pakistan.
Yeah.
Obviously moved to the US. So just start from wherever we'll just go into a summary of where you came from and what you've built and where you are today and what you're striving for.
Absolutely. I would love to do that. So I grew up in a very, very strict Pakistani family. My whole dad side of the family was military oriented, going back hundreds of years. My grandfather served in the Royal Army. He actually went and fought on the Western Front in Europe, on the French soil for the British against Germans. He came back. Fortunately, not a lot of people did. And my dad had an amazing childhood under him, very strict as well. We were gifted a lot of land, thankfully. So I do have an agriculture background, thankfully. And then we were kind of molded the same way his dad molded him. Strict discipline, very, very competitive, academics, sports, but it was a very privileged background because he was a general in the Pakistani army. But interestingly enough, as we were growing up, he wanted us to do something different because, yes, we had that heritage, we had that background, but he wanted us to do more and venture out on our own. So we traveled over the world, lived at a lot of different places, playing a lot of sports, polo, squash. We're training with world-class coaches throughout the whole time because he wanted us to afford all the opportunities that he could. And then eventually we ventured out west, Middle East, then eventually settled in America. And that's where I went to college, got 3 degrees, worked for NASA. And interestingly enough, while I was working for NASA on the space shuttle and the International Space Station projects, I realized that all the people, they were working for their passion and not money. And when you work for your passion and not money, they don't have to pay you. It's like a starving artist, you'll work for free, okay? Or the interns who are working at top Wall Street firms, they want to be there, so they don't even have to pay them. So I saw that these people had Hyundais and Toyotas parked outside, okay? Very thankful for what they taught me, very, very smart people on the astronaut list and stuff. But for one of my internships, I worked for a packing company. And when I pulled up over there, I saw there were Beamers and Audis parked outside. And a bulb just went off in my head. And I said, I need to do what these guys are doing. And when I went back to my director and I said, I'm going to go work for the people I interned for. And they said, you're going to leave the space business to go work for a box company. And I said, yes. And funny enough, my boss told me, he says, when you get rich, don't forget about us. And I said, okay, I like this. So I stayed with the same company for 20 years. I believe in loyalty. I believe in trust. I rose from an intern to an analyst. I was getting a promotion every 6 months. I was the dream child. Most people go to corporate America and they get stuck and they're jumping from company to company every 1 or 2 years. I do not recommend that because you're not going to get respect. You're not going to have any tenure anywhere, and you're going to just get 10% more and never actually get to the top. So I stuck to one place, built loyalty, built my teams. Eventually, I was leading the whole division over the US, Mexico, and Canada, had people who had been with me for 15 years plus. And eventually, like Michael Jordan at the top of his game, I had attained a certain level. I had been investing on the side continually, living way below my means, driving old cars, doing everything cash so I could invest in commercial real estate, student housing properties, buying a lot of stuff that I did cash as investments. And eventually I got to a point where I said, you know what, I'm at the top of my game like Michael Jordan. Okay, can I go up higher? I was one step away from having access to the company jet of the fleet of jets that we had. And I said, I'm not happy, I'm not free, but I have the means to be free. And at that point, I retired, sat out for a year to plot my next move. And here we are, okay? I am a co-founder of a packaging company. And for me to be my own man, I had to unplug from the matrix because all the programming that I had, even though I had tried to pull myself from it, but you cannot truly pull yourself out of it till you're both physically and mentally away and get a reset. I got my reset and now I'm a pure entrepreneur, okay? A pure entrepreneur, pure hustler, and the sky's the limit now.
That's unbelievable, mashallah. You know, one of the things you mentioned, so you went from NASA to the packaging company. I saw something recently where the guy was saying that the most wealthy individuals work for boring industries.
Yes.
Right? Steel, manufacturing, etc. Packaging, like someone might hear packaging and think, oh, what's there? But there's so much wealth to be made in those kind of industries because they're massive.
Yeah.
Right? There's so much opportunity. Yeah. And then you were speaking to my heart when you were talking about you're working consistently for 15, 20 years. You were living frugally
Yeah.
and you were investing consistently into commercial real estate. That's exactly what we teach our clients.
And you're not going to believe this, but I was living in a 1,000 square foot townhome while I had a $5 million building that I bought that had, 60 bedrooms in it. And when I went and toured those buildings before I bought them, wooden floors, stainless steel, everything, nice balconies, patios. And I said, these kids are going to live better than how I live. And I bought this building, but it did not bother me at all. People probably said he's driving a 15-year-old car, okay, or he's living in a small house or a small townhome. I did not care. I knew that my future for waiting and being patient is going to be way better when I made those investments. And eventually, it all turned out very nicely.
That's a really brilliant point, because what I see a lot with our clients is, obviously our audience is professionals, dentists, doctors, high income professionals who are doing very well, right? They're making on average $10,000 to $15,000 a month. And I think a lot of them get stuck in that mindset of trying to keep up with the Joneses,
Yes.
right? Where on the surface, they're a high producing professional, doctor, whatever. And they feel as though they have to maintain a certain lifestyle so other people don't look down on them.
Yeah.
What was different about you that allowed you to have that delayed gratification and forget about trying to keep up with everyone else?
It is confidence in myself. I got ridiculed by my own family members. Okay. My own brother, who I love to death, he says, why don't you drive a nice new car? Why don't you live in a large house that I know you can afford? I actually downsized. I had a huge house with a pool and stuff. And I realized it's not making me happy. It's not making my family happy. I'm not even here. I'm traveling all the time. So why not get efficient and do the investments? So I had confidence in myself. Everybody laughed at me, but I don't think they're laughing anymore.
No, clearly not.
And I do believe that a lot of people do get caught up with keeping up with the Joneses. They go into debt. They get into predatory or fall victim to predatory practices where they're being gouged for interest, and they can't let go of the lifestyle, or they can't even fathom the fact that I might go from a BMW to a Toyota. What are other people gonna think? I never cared about that. I had confidence in myself, and I said that there's a path for me that Allah made, okay, and I'll follow it, and I'm confident it'll work out.
I love about it, because you've had that delayed gratification in order to be able to see that future. So I think that's a lot of issues that I think a vast majority of the general public can't really see. They can't envision a future where they are not working 9 to 5 and then put that roadmap in place. I think so many people struggle with that.
And I'll talk to that, because you talk about work optional, okay? And I worked in very, very high stress situation. When you're leading a large business, half of my day was spent on the phone with our lawyers, because the stuff that came to my desk was stuff that nobody could solve. I had 15 vice presidents working for me at one point, and HR issues, assault issues, kidnappings in Mexico. Our folks were getting taken by the cartel, and I had to decide if we pay them to get them back home, or do we let them sit for a little bit. And, I talked to the experts, but I had to make the decisions. And when I was going through all of that, I was making a lot of money, but I always, no amount of money is worthwhile when you're not free. And I always said, and it's the funniest thing, I always wanted to have work optional. And the crazy thing is this: if you have work optional, you'll enjoy your work so much that you'll do it for a long time, and you're not going to be miserable. So I always wanted to get to the point where I make my own decisions, and I got to that. And trust me, it's like those players who are playing for the top teams who know and have that confidence in themselves, and they'll stand up for what they think is right, and they never get fired. They never get traded. It's the guys who keep saying yes, yes, yes are the ones who get traded.
That's so true. That's exactly what I experienced, right? I was working over the last 4 to 5 years as I started investing aggressively, and my business was doing well. Most dentists are working like 40 to 60 hours a week, right? It's a basic 9 to 5, 8 to 6, whatever, 4 or 5 days a week. It's very repetitive, very boring.
Yeah.
Eventually, after 5-6 years, it gets very repetitive. And I was in that grind. And then after my business started doing well and I was investing consistently, right? And I saw the numbers go up. What I did is I cut down very quickly. So I cut down to like 2-3 days a week, right? Which is for some of my age, right?
Yeah.
Late 30s by that point. Is some people say, oh, that doesn't make any sense. Why are you doing that, right? But when I cut down to 2-3 days a week, I started enjoying it so much more, right?
Yes.
Because when I was busy working full time, I had the stress of, there's obviously in America it's very similar. There's a lot of litigation, right?
Yeah.
Massive litigation. The stresses of like patients complaining and stuff like that. Again, nothing compared to dealing with a cartel.
Yeah.
Right? That's unbelievable. How was that? How was dealing with all that stuff?
So what happened was that you have people crossing over from US to Mexico to work, and then they would come back to the US. And when you're crossing the border and you're waiting, that's when the cartel comes and gets you. And they know, and they have scouted out the people that are working for American companies, large multinationals, and they know that if they hold them for even an hour, they can get cash. So it happens continually, and companies actually budget for it.
Really?
Yeah, yes. And
my
otherwise, nobody would work from the US going into Mexico. But I love the Mexican people. I love that they're hardworking and they're just trying to live their life and support their family. And I always made the call for the safety of the people and doing the right thing, because we could always make more money. And now, yes, I'm still running a large company. I'm part of a large startup, but we are family owned and we can do the right thing. And at that time, I work for a large public company. So a lot of time, one of the clashes that happened was I said, this is good for the employees. They're the ones that make us the money. And then they're telling me, but the law lets us do that. Yes. We got to do right by the investors. And I said, the investors sitting in the Bahamas on a yacht. Okay, this dude's sitting in a cartel hellhole. Okay, and I did the right thing all the time. I have no regrets, and people are still very loyal to me. So whenever I have an opportunity for them, and that's what people don't realize, you got to play the long game, okay? Because if you want talent, you do right by them, and even 10 years later, they'll remember what you did for them and your family. And when you want them to leave a great position to go to an even greater position with you, they'll come to you.
That's so true. Like, so there's a couple of points there, right? See, running dental practices, owning a dental practice, running dental practices, obviously that's, again, quite high stress. Again, they're not dealing with cartels, but they're dealing with running a business that has very high costs, right? And then they've got to manage employees and what people who are not in healthcare, when they buy a dental practice, like big corporates, when they buy dental practices and healthcare practices, they think it's simply a matter of reducing costs and profits will go up. When you're working with in healthcare, it's not like that. You're working with patients, you're working with people, humans. That people are the business. So you can't just cut costs and then expect profits to rise. So what happens, unfortunately, is a lot of because of the stress of managing and running dental practices, a lot of practice owners end up becoming a little bit oppressive to their staff. And what I have seen is, and I'm very proud to say that my own cousin owns a practice, right? And he's been building over the last few years. And what I have seen is exactly as you said, is the business owners that prioritize the long game. It might take them 3 to 5 years to break even. But then that's the long game. After they've built the long game, they've got loyal employees, loyal staff, loyal dentists who are working for them, loyal nurses, loyal receptionists, etc. That will help them grow much more consolidated and give them much more stronger proof of concept than a greedy owner who's just going for the profits, early profits, and trying to break even as soon as possible. You're not going to have a consolidated business model of that. And I see it so often where they have really high turnover of employees. Dentists don't want to work for them. Nurses don't want to work for them. And they keep on leaving and then having to get new staff. What is going to cost them more, right? Having to continually hire and train new staff, or just playing the long game, being a good owner, investing into your employees, and building that goodwill over the long term. It's exactly as you said.
Absolutely. And I have had experience with large chain of dentists, which are corporate in Texas. because I just didn't know. I would just go to them because they had an appointment. And then I'm like, I know they don't care about me. So now we just go to a family-owned neighborhood practice that we've been going for a long
As a
time
patient.
as a patient.
Yes.
And we know the people care. And it's the same people
Exactly.
every time. They
Yeah.
remember us because loyal employees lead to
Yeah.
loyal customers. And it's pretty, because it's hard being a dentist, man. Nobody likes to go to the dentist. Okay.
Exactly.
You're already, nobody has a big old smile walking in. They do when they're leaving, okay?
Yeah.
So you have to deal with all of that. Your employees have to deal with all of that. And the setup's got to be proper and long-term over there. I don't know what the profit margins are over there, but for me to get into that business, I would have to make a lot of money. So
Yeah.
hats off to you.
I would say to own a practice is you're looking at entry costs of around $1 to $2 million. But it's funny because a lot of people ask, "Oh, why are the self-deletion rates of dentists so high? Right? Why do they off themselves so higher than almost any other profession?" It's because about 60 or 70% of your patients, as soon as they walk into your surgery, the first thing they say is, "I hate the dentist."
Yeah,
So you're
yeah.
hearing that for maybe 5 hours a day, right? But exactly as you said, right? See, building family businesses, there's so much more goodwill and a family atmosphere. Again, I'm again very proud of my cousin for what he's building. The atmosphere he's building in his business is that all of the staff they go out regularly for meals, staff meals, and it feels like a family.
Yep.
And I've worked at a lot of practices. It'll be relevant to a lot of different businesses that the staff all feel like a family.
Yes.
And when they feel like a family, they're prepared to make small sacrifices. Like, oh, I'll stay a little 30 minutes extra just to tidy up. Like the nurses are amazing, man. See, you get some good nurses, they will literally bend over backwards to just help out and spend a little bit extra time and clean up the practice if like a dentist runs late. Okay, but what I want to go into, right, is that you went from working as an employee for NASA, right?
Yeah.
And then you took that massive step to go out on your own and start a business or join a business, right?
Yeah.
What was it? What was the change that went? What was the moment that you knew? You mentioned it before, but what was the moment that you knew that you had to stop being an employee and you had to go out and go into business? Because that's a massive step for a lot of people.
Yeah.
That they're too scared to do.
And I was getting paid very handsomely at that time. You know, a couple of times I crossed 7 figures in annual income.
As an employee?
Yeah, mashallah.
Okay. Allahumma barik, mashallah.
Because of stocks, company getting bought out, or we just hit crazy numbers. So it's unheard of. But my average income was still high up into the 6 figures.
Amazing.
So I was very, very blessed, and it's very hard to move away from it because my lifestyle was kind of taken care of. First-class flights, 5-star hotels, 5-star meals every night because we were taking out clients, or I'm traveling with my team. I had just an army of people outside my office who were ready to help me or my family with anything I needed. So it is a massive stuff. But there's a couple of things that triggered that. Okay. Number one was you become part of a company so big that you realize they don't care about the employees. And I work for one of the best companies in that, but it's just acquisition upon acquisition, you know, companies keep getting bigger and the employees become like a number. Okay. And then I also joined and once I did that, and I saw the potential of some of the people who were doing what they were doing and the kind of success, just not monetary, but it's pure freedom, lifestyle, spending time with their families, okay, and be proud of what you're doing, okay, that, hey, I built this, I did it my way. And I said, hey, I'm going to leave the best thing that I've ever had because I believe I can build something better. I believe in Allah that He'll help me build something better. I'll be in Pakistan more with my mom because I used to go every year, but I would get sick every year because I would go for a week. It would take a day to get there, day to get back. I'm working continuously on the plane. And then I had so much responsibility, so much signing authority, and so many customers I need to talk to that I had to work the whole time I'm in Pakistan. So I didn't take a day off for my whole career. So every vacation that I took, doesn't matter where I was working a solid 8 hours. Okay. And I would be working the whole night because it's daytime in America. And as soon as it's nighttime in America, all my family is waking up in Pakistan because there's like a 12-hour difference. They're like, hey, let's go do some fun stuff. We're about to go for brunch. We're about to, can't say no. Okay. So I basically wouldn't sleep for 7 days. And every time I got back, I would be sick. And I said, I didn't really even get to sit with my mom as much as I want to. And once I retired, it was amazing, man. It was one of the most beautiful things. My mom had bad health and her health reversed because both of us brothers retired within a year of each other. We moved back every morning, 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. She's waking up. We're sitting like for an hour or two, just sipping tea on the same balcony that my dad built, okay, and looking at our trees. And sometimes we wouldn't even say much, but she knew the sacrifice that we made leaving what we had in America, coming back to her. And I feel like if people are listening to this, okay, it's the money is a tool, okay? The fact that you can buy those moments that are not going to be there forever. Because I lost my dad over 20 years ago, and it happens like this, okay? He looked like me. He worked out all the time, but he had a massive cardiac arrest with no history, no medication that he ever took. And then you have your mom, okay? And yes, you can chase money. And a lot of times, it's not even the money. Some people have a sense of duty that, you know, you're a dentist and you have your portfolio of loyal customers and you're like, I can't leave them. Okay. Who's going to take care of them? Okay. Maybe the next dentist is going to be like a butcher and he'll have a plier.
Or the practice might go to a corporate who are not going to care about them as much.
So, but here's the thing. Okay. You can't help other people till you can help yourself. Okay. And I thought through all of that, made the decision, and I never looked back. I miss the people. I miss the power I had at that time. Okay. Because I had tremendous power over people's lives, their families' lives, big checks that we were giving out at Christmas. I decided what Christmas presents we're going to send everybody worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. You know, every employee gets a pie from Texas, pecan pie in a wooden box that is a decoration. So I loved that part of my life, but I knew that I could do better. And if I wanted to go back to the same people, I did right by them. I left the right way. I honored all my responsibilities, and I can go back there. Okay, but I'll tell people this one thing, and you can back me up on it. Once you become free, can't go back.
You can't go back. That's unbelievably true. Now, obviously, my license as a dentist is in the UK. So when I left in October, obviously people keep saying to me, "Oh, Maz, you know, you should get your license in Dubai." First of all, the salary is not great here. There's so much competition from South Asian dentists, right? So I don't. There's no justification for me to do that. But they were saying, "Oh, even as a backup, right, just in case, you know, you never know what happens in the future." And I just feel like that drive, that it's frustrating because I really love, as I told you, right, when I was working 2-3 days a week towards the end of my career in the last couple of years, I genuinely loved what I do because I spent 8 years as a dentist, right? I became really competent. I'm really good at what I do, and I'm really good with patients. I love the communication and that rapport building process, right? So without boasting, right, I'm very confident that all of my patients, or 99% of them, love me to bits, and I really enjoy being with them. So that part of the career I love, and being competent at surgical procedures is really satisfying for the ego. So I love the career, but as much as I love it, it's that the headaches of being, you're not an employee, right? You're still self-employed, but even as a self-employed dentist, you still have to ask permission from the practice because you've got a patient list that are fully booked, right? And it's extremely disrespectful to cancel a list, even if it's like 4 to 6 weeks in the future. So you've got that headache, and then, you know, like dealing with all the stresses of day-to-day dentistry. I've mentioned this many times before, but as a dentist, one of the major stresses, another reason why the stress level of dentists is so high is that I've never said this to my father, right? But he's an ENT pediatric surgeon.
Okay.
He's retired, so he retired before COVID. But basically, he does surgery on children under general anesthetic, right? So they're knocked out, does a surgery, boom, and the anaesthetist and the rest of the team take care of them. Doesn't have to deal with that, right? Maybe 6-7 patients a day. as a dentist, I have to do mini surgery on maybe 20 patients, 20, 30 patients, right? A day underwater because there's saliva in their mouth in a tiny little space and they're awake, right? And they're moving and they're complaining and say, oh, no,
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
right? So that's one of the stress levels of dentists. But as I said, I that's one of the stresses that I just can't see myself going back to. And then seeing the freedom of having built my own businesses, right?
Yeah.
And investing and seeing my portfolio growing. As you said, you just cannot go back.
Yeah. And one of the things, like the world's changing so fast,
Yeah.
okay? And you did your duty to your profession
Yeah.
and you miss it, but now you can work from anywhere.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
And that's what like Sky Money is about that. Okay.
Sky Money.
Freedom comes
Okay.
with work from anywhere and the money falls from the sky. You still
Right.
got to do the work,
Okay.
but you choose the work and you can do it from anywhere.
Right.
And I think dentists, unless they got robots who can do it, way better than.
I think it's still 20 years off that. But I love that. So that's where your Instagram name is from, right? Sky, what is it?
Sky Money Boss. Okay.
Sky Money.
So we were
right.
with December 2021. I was in Miami with Andrew Tate and a lot of our other friends sitting around a dinner table. And I was just planning my retirement. That was 2 months before I retired. And he asked me what my plan was after retirement. And I told him some of my ideas. And he says, I know what you did. You know, you sold boxes and you did good at that. Okay. But that sounds like a grind. And it is a grind. Long term, it pays a lot, but it is a grind. And he says, you need to get into the streams of income where you tap buttons on a screen and money falls from the
That's
sky.
Exactly what
okay, e-commerce, crypto, social media. And I knew nothing about any of that because you have to realize I came from an old boys network, very, very traditional businesses. And that's the message I want to give to some of your people out there, that you think you can do it. Okay, because nobody around you is talking about it. Nobody is saying, hey, AI is going to change the future. They're like, oh, this is going to fad. It's going to go away. It can never replace my account entry job, okay, where I just do this all day. So you can learn it. Okay, there's tools available out there. There's people out there to hold your hand. And even for investments, I'm sure a lot of people that I know who have big money, they're still very, very of crypto. And crypto's got its ups and downs.
Yeah, of course.
Bitcoin is different, but we do other stuff too. I'm sure, as well as your team. So, but it is part of the future. Okay, how can you not diversify and put something in there? Okay, don't put, I'm 90% crypto. Okay, so I'm like high risk, high reward. But even if you're not, if you want to put 5% in there, 1% in there,
100%.
you just don't know, okay, what's going to happen. But they're not educated and they think it's not for me. Okay, and I think that has to change. And that's why, like, I consider myself a boomer. Okay, you know what a boomer is in America, right? And I try to explain this to boomer, but you know what's interesting? A lot of people who will actually listen to me is the more younger generation, and I'll help whoever I can help. But truly, the boomers need to get with the program, because if they don't, they're going to be left in the dust.
That's a great point. So what I have seen is that when you have boomer investors who are able to get past the complexity of crypto compared to traditional assets, a lot of them do very well.
Yeah.
Only if they're experienced with traditional assets, right?
Yeah.
One example is like Warren Buffett, right? How long has he said that, Bitcoin's a fad and it's never going to take over traditional assets and this and that? I don't know if this is correct. Is he stepping down?
Yeah. He's retiring. Yeah.
He's retiring, right? Now, fair enough. He's been running Berkshire Hathaway for a long time, right? Yeah. But as I said, see, when you have really highly competent and experienced boomer investors who are experienced with traditional assets, stocks, etc., when they can get over the initial hurdle of understanding crypto, a lot of them do very well in crypto.
Yes, exactly, because they're disciplined. Okay, so a lot of the crypto kids, they don't have the life experience and discipline to do that. And you're absolutely correct on that. And it's just not for that. It's for the other stuff too. You know, they say, I can't do e-commerce. Okay. And I feel like one of the largest competitive edges I have is that I was very successful in a traditional business, P&L management, inventory management, engineering teams reported to me, IT teams reported to me, but it was a slow paced, very structured environment. And I like that. Okay. I'm a Six Sigma black belt as well. Now I get in with the younger kids who are into crypto, e-commerce, AI, and they're just going 100 miles per hour. And I'm trying to learn from them and they're trying to learn from me. But when you bring us both together, it's crazy because some of the kids who work for me, they're like 18, 17 years old. They're in the real world and they're building my landing pages or chatting in my DMs, and they got the crazy tech background and they solve problems like this. But then when you have to back out and look at strategy, okay, customer behaviors and business planning, that's where they don't have any experience, okay? And that's where I bring my stuff to the table. Sometimes it's a little bit of a fun back and forth, but you got to find the people that you can click with. And if you do that, like imagine going out into the business world with that power.
That's such a beautiful symbiotic relationship, right?
Yes.
You've got all of your experience in managing businesses and all of those things, as you said, and then you've got the younger generation who just, everyone knows, the younger generation who are grown with iPads and stuff, they just pick up the tech stuff so much quicker.
Yes.
Even me, I mean, I'm only 33, right? And I consider myself fairly rapid to pick up stuff on the tech side. But for certain things like just creating landing pages and stuff, if I have to do it myself, it's just going to take me like days to create one decent landing page.
Yeah. And the thing is, we're all about speed. Okay. So you go to the experts, and that's also one of the things I want to talk about when you're talking about having loyal employees. Okay. They feel like they have skin in the game because they're being rewarded for their loyalty. They're being treated well with their loyalty, and you give them a certain level of autonomy to do their job so they don't feel like micromanaged. It's the same thing with when I'm working with these kids, okay? Like I could just pay them money to do it, but I make them my partners. So if they want some money, I'll give them some money because, you know, they want to buy stuff for their parents or whatever. They're bringing in the work. But I say, you're going to make more money if you could become partner with me. So I'm going to give you half of what we bring home or X% of it. And they love it. Okay. Because everybody wants to be a partner and a skin in the game. And most people are like, no, I want to keep all of it. Well, then nobody's going to put in the kind of effort you want them to.
That's a great point, right? So how do you, as a business owner, get your employees to be really loyal to the business? How do you give them skin in the game without, first of all, how do you vet them to know that they're not going to take advantage of you? And how do you prevent yourself being taken advantage of by giving them skin in the game?
Yeah, so there's a couple of cases over there. First, I'll talk about employees that I learned from corporate America. So I believe in that you hire for attitude and train for skills. Because if the person has the right attitude, they can learn numbers, they can learn technology, they can learn logistics, supply chain, whatever we do. So when I talk to people, I look at their attitude, which means I ask them behavioral questions about how they handle certain situations in their life, how they handle the pressure, how they handle uncertainty, how they handle deadlines. And you can tell when they're making that up because I ask the same questions 3 different directions. And if the answer is not the same, and I've experience with it, I've been trained to also read body language and stuff like that. So that served me very, very well in corporate America, and that still helps me right now. Now, when I am forming partnerships for launching projects, for example, we have the supplement brand that is coming up. To make the launch faster, I'm going to the experts because through our network, we know, okay, this guy's the best at the landing page. This guy's the best at marketing. And I go to them, and there's 2 ways to do it. I pay them cash to do a certain scope of work, which sometimes you have to, or I say, hey, let me tell you about my idea. Okay. If you want to pay it in cash partly, that's okay. We can split it between cash and profits because I think it will do this. And if you want to build true wealth, then
so you're paying them cash, and then you're giving them a percentage.
Yes.
Ownership Okay.
Yes.
Right.
And a lot of times this is going to sound crazy.
Mm.
I've had projects where I have given away 100% of the profits. Okay. And I'll just tell them, hey, I just want to see if this works or not. I'm going to invest the money. Okay. All the profits you guys keep. And because some of these ideas are not going to work out. Okay. Because we're doing like cutting edge stuff that nobody has ever done, whether it's a community, whether it's an electronic product that we're selling, and we're going to work on for a month or a couple of months. And if it works, it could go like this. Otherwise, we say, okay, we learned something. Let's take what we learned from here into our next project. Okay. But in that case, I want to make it worth their while. And when they see that this guy who's buying all the inventory, he's paying for all the subscriptions, he's also paying us, he's not going to take anything home. And sometimes I tell them for the first year, I won't take anything. But after that, I will take it. Okay.
Yeah.
But you guys will be happy by that time. So when people see that you're putting your money on the line and skin in the game and you're treating them fairly, it's magic.
It builds loyalty.
Yeah. I had some kids who worked for me last year. I paid them. They didn't do a good job, but I still paid them. And it wasn't small amounts to manage my social media and stuff. If you're listening, you know who you are. Okay. And at the end of it, after 3 months, spending a few $1,000s, I got 25% of the results I wanted. And me being me, I say, hey, you know what? I can do it better than you. I just won't sleep. Okay, you're fired. And I would tell them exactly where they messed up. I said, I trusted you on this because I thought you were better than me. You didn't do the due diligence. You didn't work hard enough. Or you told me that you know this technology, but you wanted the business first. And you said that I'll learn it later, which is not a bad sales tactic because I always say take the order first and then figure out how to fulfill it. But you have to deliver, okay? So I gave them honest feedback. They improved, and then they would come back to me and they're like, okay, now we get what you told us. Okay, we'll work for you for free. Okay, give us another chance. And it's a beautiful thing. And 1 year later, that's exactly what happened. I need something that they have. Now they have spent another year mastering their craft, and they start off and they're like, we're going to do the first month free, make you happy. And when the money starts coming in, you know you're going to take care of us.
That all comes from experience though, isn't it? I mean,
Yes.
I had a recent again, I was telling you about, in introducing agreement forms and contracts, etc., which is so important. But all of this comes from making a mistake in the past. Recently, I had basically we needed someone to run our emails. Hired a copywriter on a commission basis,
Okay.
but he wanted to redo my landing page, which I didn't really want to be redone. But he convinced me, like, listen, the landing page needs to be redone. I was like, fair enough, right? So he was going to do the emails on commission, but he wanted $2,000 upfront for the landing page, right? And again, just paid him. And then about 2 months after doing, I don't know how consistent the emails were, basically messaged me and said, oh, I'm sorry, I can't continue. I've got some personal issues. And then I was like, Halas, he's a Muslim brother. I don't want to oppress him or anything like that. So I paid him the $2,000 for the landing page. He did the landing page. It just was so mediocre, man. And I was like, I ended up redoing a lot of the copy on the landing page myself. I was just so disappointed with it, but that's a learning point. I'm never going to make that mistake again.
100% it's learning. And the people, karma is a thing. Some people try to take advantage of people. Okay, I don't believe in that because in the long term, everybody gets what they deserve in life. And I think you are very nice about it. I'm very nice too till I'm not. And that's the game. Okay, you got to be nice to nice
balance,
people.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's balance.
Do you know what I wanted, right? I didn't expect the world, right? If he's got personal things that he needs, that's absolutely fine. And again, I don't want to oppress him. So all I wanted was, listen, I paid you $2,000. Just like, listen, do my emails. If it's not too much time that you're taking to write the emails, and listen, at the end of the day, we've got ChatGPT. One thing that we are learning is that a lot of copywriters are using ChatGPT. Mediocre copywriters are using ChatGPT.
Yeah.
But the best copy comes from a good copywriter using ChatGPT.
Yes.
Or the other one, Claude.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So a good copywriter using Claude or a LLM, it will produce the best copy. So I was like, listen, I just want you to produce something so that I can make my money back. And obviously I'm going to pay you the commission anyway. And then if after that you legitimately can't continue, clear. But it is what it is. As I said, it's a learning curve, as you said. So, but what I want to touch on is, first of all, can we expand on the the supplement company and your vision, what you want to build from that. And then I want to go on to the network, the power of the network that you mentioned,
Yeah, sure.
having strong contacts and the value that we've both experienced from being part of this organization, right?
Yes.
So first, talk to me about the supplement company, where you started the idea, where you got the idea from. I loved what you were talking about when we were at the restaurant at OC the other day, right? About how it's my mountain, right?
Yeah.
And so talk to me about like Shilajit and where the vision came from.
Absolutely. So the supplement brand is called Eterna Shilajit.
Yeah.
And Eterna, it's a Greek word for eternal youth, because Shilajit, for the people who don't know, it comes from 14,000 feet and above in the mountains, basically called the roof of the world, where India, China, Pakistan, Nepal, they all meet. The purest one comes from higher than 17,000 feet, and it has been used for hundreds of years in Ayurvedic medicine, Chinese medicine,
Right.
herbal medicines. Legend says that Alexander, when he crossed, he found out about it, and his troops were taking it before they invaded India. And some people say that's why they invaded India. I would say he had already invaded Persia, so he would have had done okay with his army anyhow. So it's 100% natural, and it has miraculous benefits, which I had heard about as a child growing up in Pakistan, because the street
As early as
hawkers,
that.
street hawkers, when I was a kid, were talking about it for male vitality and staying young as a man. So, long story short, I always wanted a supplement brand because I'm big into maintaining prime performance physically and mentally for myself.
Yeah.
So about 10 years ago, I started getting into it, and any supplement I got my hands on, I would try it. I was taking a lot of zinc, horny goatweed, maca root, tribulus, all this stuff. And I still am taking a lot of stuff, but you try a bunch of stuff and you figure out what your body needs. So I have experience with it. And I just think that health is so important and overlooked, especially right now with all the gadgets and the lifestyle that we have. So I wanted the brand, but I didn't know what I was going to sell. So lo and behold, Professor Alex from the real world, he had a video talking about Shilajit, and he talked about some of the benefits, and I trust his word on these because he has devoted his life to studying the supplements and its effect on the human body. And then one of our G's in Pakistan, probably the only G in Pakistan, contacted me in our network, because I'm continually putting out the signal, not just in our organization, but through social media, that, hey, I'm about this. And that's where I have found most of my workers, all the real world kids who work for me. They found me through social media, and they just kept DMing me till I said yes. Okay. So he messaged me and he says, hey, I want to do something with you. And I said, what can you do? And he says, whatever you want, but I can source things for you that are rare in Pakistan. I can get stuff manufactured for you. I can manage your social media. And I said, what do you think you can source from there? And he says, I can get Shilajit for you, or I can get rare gems. So I gave him
Rare
a
gems
test.
as well.
I got him to get this gem, and 20 carats of that gem is like sells for $5,000. It's very, very hard to find because it goes in electric batteries and electric cars. So it will be wars will be fought over minerals and rare gems. Actually, they already are in Ukraine. You can see they got the minerals contract signed for the US over there for I don't want to call it exploitation, but let's say discovery and mining. Okay. So he was able to go find that. And I had asked my brothers to find it. They couldn't.
They couldn't find
it. Yeah, it's very hard to find. So then I said, let's find some Shilajit. And it has to be the best. And you have to go into the mountains to do it. And he went to the Chinese border. Takes 2 days by car. I told him to fly, but he wanted to suffer. Eventually, he flew back instead of driving, because 2 days is just a long time. Because then he's not working for me. I said, you think you're saving me money? You're costing me money. Okay, I'm paying for the damn ticket. Go. So anyhow, so that was my vision. Sourced directly from the people who extracted, because I believe it's our supplement, it's our mountains. And my dream is to bring it to people with all of its benefits, pure form, pure resin form, no additives, no gummies, no pills, no mixing with other supplements to cheapen it
No
out.
fillers.
Okay.
Yep.
And I want to bring the story of the people who are extracting it, putting their life on the line with the hammer and sickle, getting it out of the mountains, the women that clean it and turn it into resin form, and hear it from them that, hey, our people have been taking it for hundreds of years. That's why we live longer. That's why we live happier. And I personally tried it for 2 months before I started to sell it. And I've been on a lot of stuff, and energy wise, longevity wise, mood wise, I feel the best that I ever had. I stopped drinking coffee. Okay.
You're
When I
selling me,
did it.
man. I'm
So,
sold. I'm sold.
and all of the people who are working with me on it, they're all from our organization, from the landing page to the sourcing. So I love it because I love building something that not only benefits the customer, but the people who are doing it. So inshallah, my dream is that when we're successful, these are the most forgotten and underprivileged people who live in the mountains. Very, very simple life. Okay, suffering from the elements. I want to build houses for them. Okay, I wanna take the fruit of their labor back to them, inshallah.
Allahumma barik. I love that. See, one of our goals, very similar, right? Is that from our system and our businesses, we want to invest back into sponsoring children in Pakistan, obviously, inshallah, later on, the rest of the world, to memorize the Quran, right? And not just memorize the Quran, because what a lot of the issues that they are having is that a lot of these kids are doing Islamic knowledge or memorizing the Quran, etc., but then they don't have any marketable skills.
Yeah.
Right? So they're struggling for income. So inshallah, we want to sponsor them to learn sales skills and marketable skills. So that's when you're investing back. I'm telling you, you already know. I don't need to tell you, right? You are going to see the benefit of that come back to you many, many times over. Allahumma barik. So I love that vision. Now you've obviously mentioned, right, several times, and I wanted to touch on this, is that the power of the network. As I was telling you before, from our organization, and then from networking so aggressively here in Dubai, and I feel like I just want you to come and move to Dubai as soon as possible, because network. I'm sure America has an amazing network, and I know it does from our organization. But Dubai is on another level.
Absolutely.
Another
And
level.
I have a message for all the Dubai haters. I used to be just like you. Okay, you have to come here, spend some time, and actually see what's happening here. Speed, ingenuity. Look at this hotel suite. I've stayed at all the 5-star hotels, Mandarin, the Waldorf Astoria, New York City, Las Vegas, all of these places, and the hotels here cost less. They give you more. Okay, because the people want you to do well. Okay, you meet people, if they are interested in your idea or they have an idea, they move fast, put it into action. People support each other. The amount of jealousy or envy, okay, it's very low. And in the West, the envy is becoming a big problem with inflation and people just getting left behind. Okay, they're getting left behind. Technology is leaving them behind, and they're stuck in the matrix. And when you are stuck and you don't have hope, you just become resentful.
So true. That's so true. I feel like everything that is going on in the West is the opposite of what, like, the GCC countries and especially the UAE are building. When you have a society and a government that is, I personally think the US government currently, I think they're doing much better than Biden. Obviously, again, I don't want to make this too political, but I think it's very, very clear that there are some major changes that are occurring from a policy perspective that are going towards improving life in America. But overall, what the previous administrations have done is, as you said, worsen inflation, money printing, and all of the policies that they put in place to make the life, taxes increase, horrible taxes, right? Is to worsen the life of their constituents. And what that does is exactly that. It introduces envy because people are so struggling, increasingly struggling with life. They become insecure, And when they see someone else, when most of this population is struggling, when they see someone else doing something different, it's exactly the same in the UK. Exactly the same. When they see someone else doing something different, not even necessarily successful, just doing something different, they will feel insecurity and it builds jealousy.
Yeah.
And that is the major difference that I don't see here.
And there's certain terms they use, even your friends and even your family, when they're trying to attack you without, while being passive aggressive, and they'll say, "You're just lucky, okay?
Lucky. Yeah.
You have changed,
You've changed.
okay?
Yeah.
And you don't talk to us anymore. You don't want to hang out anymore. And I don't want to hang out anymore, okay? Unless there's a purpose, unless we're adding value to each other. It doesn't have to be monetary value, okay? Like relationships, with our health. If we're not pushing each other to be better, I just don't want to sit on a couch and talk about the good old days with you. So I don't have any more friends unless they are in our organization. Very, very select, maybe 2 or 3, okay? And even those, they're like on the borderline, okay? They're about to come into our organization or change their mindset, because I give away a lot of the game for free, okay? One thing I do want to add is, and this is a message for a lot of your base who think that, hey, I'm secure, okay? I'm a dentist, I have my practice, or I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm secure, okay? So a few things, okay? If you are not in a prime job like a dentist or surgeon, a lot of what you do is going to be replaced by AI. In America, most of the middle management is going to be replaced by AI, who did all reporting and meetings and compilation and making sense of data. AI can do it much faster now. So all that's going to be left is top management that makes strategic decisions, and then the worker bees who have to, where the pedal meets the road, or the tire meets the road, because they're the ones driving the truck or operating the machinery. Everybody else is going to be replaced. But even if you're irreplaceable, if you are on a fixed income and you're not hustling on the side or investing, this is what will happen. They will increase your taxes to keep you poor and a slave, not just on your payroll. Even if you think, I have a house, I paid for the house, nobody can take that house away from me. If they really want your house, they will increase your taxes and insurance so much that it's going to become unaffordable for you. That's exactly what they do when the ranchers in Texas or Montana, some big corporations, want their land and they won't sell it even for any price because they want to keep it in the family. They'll just buy the land around it and raise taxes so much that they can't even make cost for their cattle and stuff. So they give you an option. Either you sell it to us or go to zero. And some people actually, sadly, go to zero. So the only solution is to diversify, not just financially, but also your lifestyle and where you live. You have to open up your mind.
I mean, I wouldn't even mind the taxes in the West if it was clear that the infrastructure was improving.
If there's value.
If the government was reinvesting in the infrastructure, which is very clear here, very clear, they're reinvesting into the infrastructure. Do you know why I live in Glasgow, right? They started roadworks around a roundabout right outside my home.
Yeah.
They didn't need to start these roadworks. They're renovating the entire roundabout. It's quite a major roundabout.
Yeah.
So immediately these roadworks disrupt the flow of traffic, right? And they didn't need to renovate it, but I think it's still going on, maybe 2 or 3 years it's going to take to renovate this one roundabout, right? That didn't need to be renovated. But they're not dealing with the major issues, which are the potholes and all these other things that are that destroying the road and destroying your car and causing you extra expenses. It doesn't make sense. I don't see any of my taxes going to improve my life experience in the West, right? But here, it's very clear. Things are always improving. So many examples, right? Last year, the major floods, right? After the floods, however bad the experience was, the administration, the government will make sure that even if there's floods like that again, it will never be as bad, or they will make sure that it just never happens again. Because because even in Sharjah, right, they were building drains and everything to make sure that it's never that bad ever again.
Yeah.
And then the traffic. Oh man, that's one thing. Right? I'm struggling with, right? Because obviously I don't need to come to Dubai too often. But if I do get, and I usually time my driving so that I miss the rush hour. But even the traffic is a major issue. But they are already building more motorways, highways,
Happens,
etc.,
yeah.
to ease the flow of traffic. And you just don't see that from Western governments.
Yeah, and I mean, some of the last administrations in multiple countries, they went overboard where you're paying heavy, heavy taxes and they're going to illegal immigrants, putting them in five-star hotels. I've heard firsthand stories in the state of New Jersey and New York where they're kicking seniors, somebody's grandma who's on a diabetic and she needs dialysis and she's at a assisted living place and they put limits on it. You can only be here for 6 months while it used to be covered indefinitely through the Medicare and their pension or senior citizen funds. So they're literally kicking grandma out the door where she could die. And I heard about it firsthand from people that it happened to. They were very influential and they were just able to pay $5,000 a month for somebody else to take care of it while there's illegal immigrants staying in five-star hotels in New York City. Like imagine going to Manhattan and you have to pay $500 a night and the room next to you is illegals who just showed up and somehow they're now being called guests. And I'm a very proud immigrant.
Exactly.
And so are you.
Yes.
Okay, we worked.
Yes.
We worked.
Exactly.
Our parents worked. And now, if that's happening with taxes, and I have to work harder now with inflation to keep my standard of living while the money is being given away, no, thank you.
Do you know, this is not about inflation, right? We as you said, we're immigrants. Immigration is not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
Does the UAE has one of the highest rates of immigration, doesn't
Yes,
it, right?
yes, yes.
It's not about immigration, it's about the quality
Yes.
and how strict you are about that quality, right? So all of the immigrants coming into the UAE are either professionals bringing value into this country, or even if they're coming from the South Asia, right? They're coming with a job, with the intention of getting a job to provide a service.
Yes.
Right? And that's what our parents did when they moved to the West. My grandfather was a psychiatrist, right? He was a doctor. So they were trained professionals, and what they're doing now is they're just, well, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like I'm against immigration. It's not about immigration. You know what's another frustrating thing, right? Is that they will also blame, on the other side, they will blame all of the problems on immigrants.
Yeah.
So first of all, it's we need to make it very clear that we're not against immigrants. We're against immigrants coming and not bringing value to the country, uncontrolled. So immigration is good as long as you're bringing controlled, skilled people into the country, right? And then the other thing is you have to have strict laws and policing. Now, you like, they've got a lot of police in the West, right?
Yeah.
That are doing F all, right? They're doing nothing.
Yeah.
And do you know the area that I live in, right, in Sharjah? I think that I live amongst at least 15 different nationalities. 15 different nationalities just in my small area. And it's in the wider area as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and do you know what? There's almost zero crime. I've witnessed almost no crime. So there's 15 different nationalities and there's almost zero crime. You cannot tell me that the problem is immigration.
Yeah.
Because there's not 15 different nationalities living in close proximity in anywhere in the West that I know of.
Yeah. And I'll add to it, and this will get into a deep conversation about where I think the world is going, because the powers that be, they create the problem and then they offer a solution that serves their purpose.
Yeah.
So you bring the immigrants, and there's a few reasons for that. Okay, number one, votes. Because if you're just giving them something for free, they're gonna give you something in return, which if you let them vote, especially without a voter ID, they're gonna vote for the people who give you free money, right? If you're a dog, you're gonna wag your tail for the person giving you food without any work. So number one is votes. Number two is taxes, okay? Because if the West is not having babies, which I'm a big proponent of,
100%.
they have to keep their tax revenue up. And the way you do it with immigrants. And the third thing is causing chaos. If you get criminal immigrants, which has happened in the US, people think that it's a conspiracy that all these Latin American countries just emptied their jails and send them to, or mental institutions and send them to America. That actually happened. And if you have those immigrants coming in and there's crime and you're not even like cracking up on their crime, because there was a time when if in New York City, people would just, if the police was trying to crack down on immigrants, they would say, hey, you're racist, this and that. So police said, I don't get paid enough to be called a racist and a pig, okay, and get beat up by immigrants, because that actually also happened. So you create the lawlessness, and then you can, when things get really bad, then you can pass draconian laws to rule your population even stricter, that, hey, things are so bad, now we're going to monitor your phones, you can't leave your area, you need a pass to leave your area. So the future is less freedom and less life. And the decision is ours. To fight that, you have to break free. You're going to need the financial resources. You're going to need the network resources for people to connect with. You need the freedom of movement resources. If you want your kids to have the same life that we had as kids or their kids, it's a fight, bro. It's a fight. And I'm in the fight. I know you are too.
100%. Do you know, it's frustrating because people are blaming the problem on surface level issues,
Yes.
right? So they're blaming all of the issues of the West on surface level issues, which are immigration. But you have to come to the source. What is the source? Right?
Yeah.
The source is certain people, certain administrations creating destabilization.
Yes.
In the East, right?
Yeah.
And then the asylum seekers from those countries seek asylum from the destabilized countries in the East back in the West, right?
Yeah.
And these are people who are traumatized
Yes.
from war-torn countries, and then you're just allowing people in who are, again, traumatized, who don't really have any skills, and then you're expecting them to integrate into society in a comfortable way. I'm not against immigrations. I'm not against asylum seekers. I'm against the source of the problem, which is the destabilization of these countries causing war immigration.
Would you believe me if I told you that the US government was actually paying for flights for illegal immigrants to come from certain countries?
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
And nobody knew, because back in the day, you at least had to like go across a desert or be stuck in a cargo ship or swim a river to cross a border. You're being flown in now. Who's paying for it? Why? These are all the questions that people don't realize, that nothing just happens. Okay, somebody has a plan, and maybe these powers are too big, and someday they're going to try to silence you and I because we're speaking the truth, but it's happening. And if you're a critical thinker, you'll see it and you'll say, how can I avoid this? Okay, and that's the fight. And if you don't do it, there's a term in America, it's called baby seal on the beach, ready to be clubbed. Okay, because back in the day, if you're a baby seal or a seal and you're just sitting on a beach and you think, I'm getting the sun or I'm getting some food, and there's a hunter with a club, okay, because he wants your hide or your skin for fur, you become that, okay? You got to jump into the ocean and swim away.
Do you know the other thing, what I see in the West is them radicalizing politics. Again, I don't like going too much into politics, because my political position is very dynamic, right? They'll tell you that you can only be conservative, like far right, or you can only be liberal, far left. But the political spectrum is diverse. I can have conservative opinions and also opinions that are labeled liberal. Right? Like, for example, most of what we're talking about would be classed as conservative, right? But then with regards to our love and support for our people in Palestine, right, that would be considered liberal. And they say, oh, you can't be both. They look at you like you're crazy. If you have love for Palestine, for the Palestinians and what they're going through, and if you're conservative and you don't want like like crazy people coming into your country.
Yeah, yeah.
I love my country. I love the UK. I love Scotland. I was born and raised there. I love the people because I don't know if you have met that many. You know a lot of Scottish G's, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The Scottish people are some of the most lovely people in the world, right? They can come across as a little bit aggressive. One of the things we say, right, is that a Scottish person will stab you. Okay, you have to censor this bit. A Scottish person will stab you if you look at them in the wrong way, right?
Okay.
But then they'll call you an ambulance afterwards, right? So,
That's very nice.
yeah. But I mean, that's obviously it's an exaggeration, but they're lovely people. I love the West, and it just breaks my heart to see the country have gone this way. And it's only in the last 15, maybe 20 years max that has gone so badly wrong.
Yeah.
That they've made these infrastructure and political decisions to
Yeah.
make the country go so badly.
And you're absolutely right. I try not to get into politics,
Mm.
even though I feel like I will get dragged into it in the future. But you can only control what you can control.
100%.
Okay.
100%.
And that's what you focus on, because you don't want to just sit and talk about stuff and get your blood pressure high and get people riled up. Because a lot of people do that in social media too, to get views. And I don't believe in it. Okay. I'm action packed person. Okay. My life is
100%.
action packed.
Right.
You think and you just do.
Yeah.
Okay. And I feel like your viewers should see you, because a lot of people talk about leaving their homeland in Scotland and I'm going to go to Dubai. I'm going to move to wherever, Thailand. And they never do it. They keep talking about it. And they're like, I'm waiting for the right time.
Yeah. When is the right time going to be?
It's never going to be better than now.
It's never going to be better than now. That's the perfect time to talk about legacy. Right, Allah Mubarak. We've got 2 kids.
Yeah.
2 boys.
Yeah. Mashallah.
17-year-old.
17 and 2. Yeah.
17 and 2. Allah Mubarak. Talk to me about your legacy. What do you want to pass on to your sons? What do you want them to remember you? How do you want them to remember
So
you?
I'm extremely proud the way my parents raised me. And I always thought I still think my dad was Superman, because I always saw him in the military uniform and he was always a rock.
Yeah.
And I knew no matter where I was in the world, no matter what happened, he would always be there for me and he'll find a solution for any problem that I had.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought a war started, he would somehow fly me out of there no matter what. And I want to do the same for my kids. And not only that, my dad was very tough on us and he wanted us to be the best versions of ourselves. And I truly believe that every parent should not live through their kids, because some people try to do that. They try to put their unfulfilled desires on their kids that, hey, I always wanted to be a soccer player, but I sucked. I was too slow. I'm going to get my kid enrolled in soccer so he can fulfill my dream to be a pro soccer player. I'm like, bro, if you were slow, your kid's going to be slow. Okay. And you're putting that unreal expectation on that kid and you're going to spend all this money on coaching, on his outfits, only to get frustrated at the end and take it out on the kid. Okay. You should expect your kids to be better than you, but in their own way and be the best version of themselves. I believe that's legacy. It's not about money. It's not about transferring power to them, even though you want to give them whatever you have, but they become the best version of themselves and they leave an impact on society. So I don't talk about it a lot. You talked about Palestine a little bit. I believe the people in Gaza are the most oppressed people in the world. And I don't talk about it a lot. I try to help as much as possible. But whenever I do something like that, it's Eid, okay? Or it's a special thing for an orphanage over there. I always tell my oldest son, okay, because he understands it. And I said, you see the sports cars, you see the custom suits, you see the watches. What you don't see is this. And this is the stuff that's going to make you feel the best in this life. And
100%.
In the next life, reap rewards for you. And I think those are one of the most important things. You make life hard for them in a way, but they should know that you unconditionally love them. And you're always going to be there for them. So I think it's the most important thing. And for the future of humanity, people should have kids and make them the best version of themselves.
Oh, right. I love that. So you know what you said about not living through your children.
Yeah.
What I try to do is live with them. Right.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
So not wanting them to achieve things that you've never done. Right. I want them to see me doing cool stuff, and I want them to just be better at it. Right.
Yep.
So horse riding, I have developed such a love for horse riding, literally just over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So I feel like horse riding, you're from a very different background. So you've been riding horses
Since I was 5.
5. Wow, man. So I mean, you know, in the UK, it's not common for at least most boys, to ride horses. So I've never ridden a horse in the UK. But the first time I sat on a horse, it was about 3 years ago, and I went to Morocco on a trip.
Yeah.
Right. And man, it's just, I feel like it was life changing. So we went on a 2-day hike, about 7 hours each day on horseback, and then we did like wild camping on that night, and then the next day another 7 hours of horse riding, and it was just life changing. Horses are just such beautiful animals.
Yeah.
Right?
And intelligent.
Incredibly intelligent.
Yeah.
Right. So I developed this love for horse riding and horses. And again, it's only for the last 2-3 years. I don't want to propose myself as like I'm an expert in horses, or I've been riding horses my whole life. I haven't. But I want my children to love horses as much as I've developed that love for horses. And just like you've been riding since you were 5, I want my kids to ride from a young age, inshallah. But what needs to happen is they need to see me riding.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, exactly.
And same with fighting, same with business, right?
Yeah.
Again, another thing is fighting. You've got a background in kickboxing.
Yes.
Yeah.
As a teenager, I learned Shotokan for karate, for self-defense,
Amazing.
and it changed my life. It gave me crazy amount of self-confidence because I was a weak kid growing up, short, spectacles, not a lot of confidence. And then I did Shotokan. At the same time, I started getting taller and started putting a little bit of muscle, and I could do full splits and crazy kicks in school, showing off and stuff. So it changed my life, and I felt it was very, very important for my son to do it, and he hated it when we started. Like, it was like going to a funeral, going to the class, and he would have never done it consistently unless I was there with him every time, and I still am, and we spar with each other. It gets very physical, very aggressive at times.
You and your son?
Yes, because he's the stronger. He's put me down a couple of times.
Okay.
Like, he gave me a bruised rib once. Yeah, because he's faster.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, and soon, you know, he's filling out very nicely. So they will listen to you sometimes, but they're watching you all the time.
100%.
Even if you have a 2-year-old, you just do something. Just grab a bottle and try to flip it like this. That baby is going to try to pick up that bottle and flip it because he saw his dad or his mom, mostly dad, and they will copy it immediately. And going back to the horseback riding, I have seen you do it, man, and I was very impressed because I can tell, like, I was formally trained.
Yeah.
Okay, lessons
I was definitely not
for years, you know, posture, how you hold your hands, okay, body weight shifting and stuff like that. And I saw you gallop on the beach, okay, and then the camping trip and stuff. And I said, holy crap, this guy can, you're going fast, okay.
You know what's funny is that they don't teach you anything, right? When you go on these trips, they literally just in the morning, 10 a.m., they drive you to the stables, and then they just throw you on a horse, and then you're riding for 7 hours.
Dude,
right?
that's just crazy.
And you're riding, obviously you take breaks and stuff every 2-3 hours, but you're riding over sandy paved roads, and then you're riding over rocks, like not paved roads at all, rocks, literally rocks on the edge of a cliff, literally within maybe 1 or 2 meters, or there was one path we had to take from the beach up to where the beach ends, and then it was going up to a mountain, right? And to get up to the mountain, there was a tiny little path that we had to take. And when I think back, like, that's insane for the fact that majority of these riders are literally have only been riding for 3-4 hours.
You might feel nervous, but the horse knows what he is doing. You have to trust the horse because they're mostly trained on the mountains and they have 4 legs. Okay, so they can balance them a lot better. But the beauty of the relationship with the horse is that even in Islam, okay, there is like a very, very special place for horses.
Very.
Okay, the relationship with your horse and how to take care of your horse and all the benefits and the loyalty that comes from horses. And if you study the history of Islam and a lot of great cultures and religions, they have the same thing. You know, Alexander, when his horse died, that's when his life basically started turning when they were in India, and then he got sick. And people don't realize that it has an important part in culture. And my grandfather was actually part of the British cavalry.
Oh,
So
my
I
goodness.
come from like generations of people coming from Central Asia or the mountains into what's India now invading, and all of that was done
So it's in
on
your blood.
horseback. It's in our blood.
Allah.
Okay, and you have to keep it in your blood. And people don't realize that polo was born in Pakistan. Now people think it's a British sport, but the British took it from the subcontinent and took it back. So it was actually played by the Persians way back in the day. So, and right now, Pakistan has the highest polo tournament in the world. I think it's at like 15,000 feet, where people fly in horses from all over the world, and they compete with the local polo team. And guess who wins? The local polo teams, because they live there and the horses live there, so they're not getting tired. So it's a beautiful thing. I think for kids who are troubled, it is incredible therapy for them to ride and bond with the horse as well.
100%. It's a live animal. It's like 700 pounds of raw beast that you have to learn to bond with and control with. Do you know something beautiful? You talked about the relationship that Islam has with horses, right? You know Khalid bin Walid?
Yes.
Do you know the clan that he came from? The clan that he came from was the clan in Mecca around that time that was in charge. So different clans were in charge of different things.
Yeah.
Right? So the clan of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his clan was in charge of the Hajj pilgrimage and dealing with all the pilgrims and the hospitality, right? The clan that Khalid bin Walid came from was in charge of war, right? In charge of defense of Mecca, right?
Yes.
So Khalid bin Walid came from the clan that was trained for war and that used to deal with all the military applications. They were the ones that trained all the horses. So he came from the clan that was the best horse rearers, that reared the horses and the best horse riders. And from that clan, his family were the best riders.
Yes.
And from his family, he was the best rider.
MashaAllah. And he's I think, we're considered one of the greatest military minds in history, undefeated. Actually, one of the toughest campaigns that were assigned to him. And it was insane. People don't realize it, but I studied his history, that his legend, because he was undefeated. So the confidence that it instilled in his troops was so crazy. But it's just amazing that what that can do for you. And I absolutely love all of that, especially Arabian horses that I'll be riding some tomorrow. Most hot-blooded, most energetic, but most loyal. Because in some of the battles, like, they'll give their life. They know when their master is in trouble. They'll give their life to protect you. And people don't realize that. They're like, it's just a beast of burden, okay? But they're not. They're very intelligent. A horse, very, very hot-blooded horse, will act different with a mature person and challenge them. You put a kid on them, calm down. Because they want to take care of the kid.
Okay, well, inshallah, when you come next time, we need to go on a trip together.
Inshallah, brother.
I bought a little DJI Osmo hand camera, vlogging camera.
Okay.
Take some sick videos. Before we finish, I just wanted to touch on you talking about sparring with your son. This is something that, inshallah, I definitely want to do. But how do you feel like sparring with your son? And it's not full contact, all out, trying to hurt each other, right? But how does that affect and develop your relationship with your son? How do you think that's affected that?
So first of all, sometimes it is all out.
Okay.
Because we are training with other folks and we're following the coach's instructions. So me and him, we're not in a private lesson. We're switching from partner to partner. And I always do the drills with him because I want him to be trying his best, and he will try his best when he knows that I'm watching him. Because sometimes we're doing the jump rope and it It's tiring after like 3 rounds of 3 minutes just doing this. And I'm looking at the mirror, he's behind me, and for a second he'll like stop or pretend like the rope is getting stuck in his feet to catch his breath. But as soon as he sees me in the mirror and sees me looking at him, he starts doing it again. But when we spar, I always want him to give his all. He just won a tournament. MashaAllah, he went and defeated in his weight class.
Amazing.
So he used to be timid.
Did you post about it in the
Yeah,
organization?
I did.
Yes.
Okay. So he was always timid. He didn't want to hurt people. And I had to tell him that when you're in a fight, number one, you're bred for this, for battle, going back to generations of my family and his mother's family. But secondly, you have to give your best to everything that you do. And sometimes that did cause friction between us, and I had to discipline him very, very harshly. Mostly when we left MMA was us getting into the car, because I don't do it in front of people. Okay. As soon as we get into the car, I would start giving him very, very harsh feedback or yelling.
On his training.
On his training. Okay. Because a lot of times he would think he did good and he didn't, because I was watching all of the stuff. But over the years, he has understood my expectations, but more so he has upped his expectations from himself on giving the hardest. And then when we're sparring, man, I can throw a very, very mean cross. And I have had grown men fall back when I throw my cross. I don't throw it a lot because I do a lot of jab. So 20 jabs and 1 cross. But when the cross comes, like it's a showstopper. And I have thrown my full cross at him to where through the glove, I felt his jaw, okay? And I saw what it did to his face. And I wanted to see his reaction. And his reaction was just, I had my back to the wall. Okay, that's why I threw that cross. And I thought he was going to back off. And he didn't. And he just came at my body and just like my ribs. Amazing. But it took some time to get there. And I will tell you, like, especially when we're in clinches and he's grabbing me and I'm grabbing him and we're hitting each other with the knees over here and just turning each other around. It's like a beautiful thing because it's very physical, but I love hugging him. I love holding him. One of the best
ways to bond with your son.
It is. And after we're done, we're both just sweaty and bruised, and we go get like 2-3 burgers and we just sit and eat them, okay? And we're happy. Yeah.
That's such a beautiful relationship. Omar, honestly, this has been incredible. I think this is definitely one of the highest level conversations I've had yet. And I'm really looking forward to coming again. I want you to just let me know as soon as possible so we can make some real plans. As I said, definitely need to go horse riding. I want to connect you with some really, really good brothers here as well, inshallah. And as you say, if you need anything when you're sending family here, you just let me know, inshallah. And we've got some.
Absolutely, brother. It is a true pleasure. Yeah. Okay, very, very professional setup. And you're an amazing brother. And I feel like your community, they're very, very fortunate to have you. And I'm sure you're fortunate to have them. So look forward to seeing you again soon.
Man, you're a powerhouse. Allah Mubarak. Jazakallah khair.
All right, brother. Assalamu alaikum.
So guys, alhamdulillah, that was a phenomenal conversation. I'm honestly so grateful to have Omar here with us. As always, I'm going to pop the contact and the social media of Omar in the description and the comments. And if you are a high-income professional dentist, doctor, you're doing really, really well, you're making, you're successful in your career, and you just feel like you need a little bit of a help to reach that next level, which is to expand your wealth, grow, invest, etc. That is exactly what we do. We have an entire setup, an entire agency to help you grow your wealth, so that you can get to a point where you are work optional, where you can make decisions about your life and your career and your family, so that you're not tied to the dental chair, to your office chair, whatever you're doing, so that you have the options to do what you want when you want to. Again, Jazakallah khair to Umar, and inshallah I will see you at the next discussion and we'll have some amazing guests for you in the future. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.